Welcome to Writing the Wrong Way. This is a podcast for serious writers who want to develop their skills in artistry and stand out in a crowded industry by taking intelligent, creative risks. I'm your host, Jonathan Ball. I hold a PhD in literature. I'm the author of numerous books, and I take a very analytical approach to art making, emphasizing both efficiency and experimentation. Please consider doing me a favor and pre-ordering my new book from Coach House Books, The National Gallery. It contains sonnets for Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, elegies in the manner of Rilke but for a dead iPhone, and other strange missives from yours truly, the Poet Laureate of Hell. So go to thenationalgallery.ca for more information. That's thenationalgallery.ca. Thanks. Why does Skype give me the option to put a sad face or show a happy face? What's this? It's crying. What's the point of this?
Well, because I can't read emotions from your real face.
Is that what it is? That's the thing. We're looking at faces. I could see if you're in the chat or something. But even then, it's kind of stupid. But in case my real face can't display the emotion of sadness, I gotta go. Hang on. It was like this.
It's the only way to get emotion across in the 21st century.
It's hilarious. It's something else, man. Wow. Unbelievable. It's oh, wait, Brian. I got to put a thumbs. I give you a thumbs up. I know my hand's right here and I got a thumb. I could put it up, but.
I love how it's the constant, up and down.
Up and down. Is that even a thing people do?
No.
Have you ever done this? It's well.
I will now.
Let him live. But wait a second. Maybe I've changed my mind. No, let's let him live. Anyway.
This is compelling audio.
What we were supposed to be talking about now is, I don't know, one of two things. Either we can talk about, how we're doing with our 95 books, or we can talk about Zelda, which I've been playing too much.
I mean, we're going to have to do an actual real episode of this at some point, because we're supposed to talk about that Ian Williams book.
I haven't read the Ian Williams book yet.
Which I did read. I did read the Ian Williams book.
I haven't finished reading it. I got it, and then I lost it, and then I found it again, and then I was started reading it, and then
and then you realized it was 500 pages.
No, it's not that. It's that I have at that point. Then I had 10 books I had to read for work related things.
Okay.
So, I started a new class, right? So I got to reread all the books that I'm doing for that, and then additionally I got to read my poetry column books. So that's 6 books right there, and then it's on. So it's on my. Oh, and also I have to read Anne Boyer put a book out. It's not her poetry book though. It's her memoir of illness. Okay. It looks really great, but I got to read that. That's another 400 pages. So I actually have something 1,000 pages of reading I have to do before I read the Williams book. Because someone's paying me to read it. Is what it boils down to. Yeah. But I feel bad because I made you read it. I asked these other people to read it and stuff.
I mean, that's the real problem with I'm sure you thought you were being smart when you announced right in the middle of the podcast, here's what we're going to do next.
Well,
because now we have to do it.
It would lock me into it. I thought before I do another one, it would lock me in. But then I just, now here we're doing another one and I haven't read it yet. But I will read it and we will talk about it. It's next on my list after these. This week, I'll finish up all the reading I have to do beforehand. So basically, I'll read it next week is what it boils down to. So by the time I roll into your neck of the woods for my Toronto launch, we'll have read it. And we can do a live thing where maybe we eat the sushi that we owe each other. I don't know where we're at with the sushi owing. I think I owe you sushi.
And we should have done that when I was in Vancouver, because now we have to eat Toronto sushi.
Yeah, which is worse than Winnipeg sushi even. Winnipeg actually has very good sushi for a province that has no ocean even remotely nearby. Yeah. But Toronto just has terrible sushi.
Listen, I found a couple good spots, but it's also it's a combo of it's harder to find good sushi and it's always twice as much.
What happened in Winnipeg is there's some sushi chef that I don't know where he got trained, but he came here and started a restaurant in Winnipeg, and then he trained almost every other sushi chef in Winnipeg. So Winnipeg actually has substantially good sushi. And then, despite, I'm sure there's an ingredients issue, but like getting things. But yeah, Vancouver would have been, I remember we had some sushi when I was in Vancouver last, but still.
Yeah.
It will be a Toronto sushi time, sad to say. Where are you at with your 95 books? I just finished reading my 88th book, which is Ken Hunt's The Odyssey, which is an erasure. It's an erasure of the Apollo 11 mission transcripts. So it's a series of erasure poems based off that, which is really great. And then before that, I read a bunch of other stuff, but the other two that I really was big into was one, The Elements by Aaron Morey, which when I wrote my little mini review, I stole your line, like I said I was going to steal. I stole a line that Ryan said when we were talking about it, which is that it kind of reads like a greatest hits in some ways because, just because it's culminating like certain threads that she, or returning to certain threads that Morey has kind of, done before, but yet, kind of in a new, fresh way. And then the other book that I really was big on recently that I can't stop talking about is a Japanese horror manga called Uzumaki, which basically means spiral. And it's a very famous Japanese horror manga by Junji Ito. And more or less it's about a town haunted by a spiral. And it's as strange as that makes it sound. But yeah, if you haven't read Spiral or Uzumaki, but they don't translate it in the English edition, it's just called Uzumaki is the title. And it is stunningly strange and brilliant. This town just becomes a spiral, is haunted by a spiral. Slowly everything starts to turn into spirals. It's very, deranged. What have you been up to?
I think let me pull up my list and I'll give you an actual number as opposed to like a memory number. So I'm also at 88.
Nice. So we should say it's September. So in September we both hit 88. So we're well on track.
So the book I finished last night is I don't know if I want to call it a theory book or like a queer theory book, maybe Asexual Erotics by, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, Ella Przybylo. It's like a Polish name. It's got like it's got like a Z and two Y's in it. But it's a like really excellent kind of set of readings around a bunch of cultural objects, thinking them through non-sexuality, which is a bit of an interesting. It's an interesting take, like within queer theory, to focus on not having sex rather than having sex. I don't know. That's a bad reading, but other things that I've read since, I don't know where we would have left off, but I've read a couple of poetry books that have been really, really excellent. So one by Wendy Trevino, who's a Bay Area poet, called Cruel Fiction, which is very political. It's out of Commune editions, so it has the Marxist bona fides, but it's a book of sonnets about really cutting current political stuff. And that's a bad reading. I would read a poem, but I don't have it in front of me. The other book of poetry that I read recently that I really liked is not the new Tommy Pico, because apparently he has a new one, but his book Nature Poem, which is just a really great, funny, long poem.
Tommy Pico?
Tommy Pico, yeah.
And then Cruel Fictions was the other one?
Cruel Fiction, yeah, by Wendy
Cruel
Trevino.
Fiction, but it's a poetry book. It's just called Cruel Fiction.
Yeah.
Is it it's sonnets, you said? That's interesting.
It's not all sonnets, but it's got I think one or two of the sections are sonnets.
Have you read, I haven't read this yet, but it's the next book I'm going to read is Sonnets Shakespeare. Have you read that? I just picked that up. But you haven't read it either?
I haven't read it yet. It looks great.
Yeah, it looks really interesting. But it's
I was going to say that could be the next book that we read together if we ever read this Ian Williams book.
Well, I'm going to read it sonnet I have to read it before the Williams book, so I will definitely read it this week.
Yeah.
And then Williams next week. So if you want, we could talk about both when I roll down to Toronto there.
Well, sure.
That might be good. But yeah, it looks great. And then I just read the Billy Ray Belcourt's new book as well.
Yeah, that's also,
which I liked quite a bit.
Yeah, I got those, and then I picked up the Jay Millar's Selected, because he just did a...
Yeah, I read that a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting, and I mean, I've seen most of that stuff before, but there's some newer stuff in there and some older stuff I hadn't seen from his old, very small micropress days.
Yeah. Other than that, my reading is I'm teaching this course on poetics, so I'm reading a bunch of stuff that'll rereading a bunch of stuff that'll be really interesting. Some of it'll be like self-inflicted pain. I'm having my students read a chunk of Charles Olson next week, so we'll see how they like me after that.
The Maximus stuff or something else?
Just like the first 30 or 40 pages of the Maximus poems and projected verse. So,
is that what do you tend to teach in that class?
This is my first time
right now.
Well, this is my first time teaching this class. It's a fourth year poetics course, so it's poetics as research is the kind of frame. And the first four or 5 weeks are just an excuse to give them a crash course, in 20th century stuff. So this week we're reading Muriel Rukeyser. Next week we'll read Charles Olson. Week after that we're reading Bernadette Mayer. After that we're reading Teresa Hack Kyung Cha. And then within the class we'll look at a bunch of stuff around. So I'm today, we'll look at swatches of Eliot and Pound and HD and some of the objectivist stuff and a bit of Langston Hughes. And then next week we'll look at the new American poetry, and we'll ask why there's only 4 women in that book, only 1 person of color. And the answer will be it was the 60s and things were shitty. The answer will be more complicated than that. And then the back half of the course we're doing a bunch of more contemporary stuff. We're doing Claudia Rankin and Mark Novak and Sheena Marie Lowe. I'm staring at the stack of books, but they're across the room here. Jordan Abel, Jordan Scott. I'm missing somebody, but yeah, that's the vibe of the class.
You know what I was also... I mean, I'm not teaching anything other than creative writing right now. And then, so I'm just doing I'm actually doing some textbooks I'm trying this year. So I'm doing the Tisdall book that he did. Daniel Scott Tisdall, who's near you, did a book called for Oxford University Press.
His office is down the hall.
Yeah. Anyway, his book is great. I don't know if you've ever taught a creative writing class there or not.
No.
But if you ever do, you might want to consider his textbook. It's a great opening, which is the first thing he asks you to do is write. Imagine a student opening this book, right? So the first thing he asks you to do is a series of exercises to create the poem you're forbidden to write. And so it really is kind of an interesting, fascinating kind of way in. And one of the things that's great about his book in particular is that he, it's about writing poetry. The book's called The Writing Moment, but it's kind of predicated on the idea that, there's a couple ideas it's predicated on, but one of the things that I really appreciate about it is he kind of goes through not only what you would, normally do in a poem or in a normal, creative writing class, but he also gets into some of the things people are actually doing now. Most of these craft books I find, they kind of stop at 1870, as if that was the apex of craft. And they mention a few things, they mention the imagists and they mention, some of the later stuff, but they kind of stop, in terms of, other than getting into free verse in some more modern ways, they don't really delve into. So when he talks about description, here's how you different ways you could write, you could create imagery. He gets into you could always just turn the poem into an image and create some visual work. You could, mix media and you put a comic book panel in there, things that I think I'm just surprised other craft books don't get into. But he doesn't get into it he gives an example of a Mad fold-in poem. His first book has a Mad magazine fold-in poem. So he gets into kind of how you might write that. and actual techniques. He knows like we have to write the final line first, and kind of the craft angle, which is to me really interesting. But I haven't gotten too much into one of the things I'm also just doing as fall rolls in and people start mailing me the catalogs and stuff, is I'm looking at what's coming out, and I'm really interested also in the new Lisa Robertson novel. Have you heard about this?
Okay.
Yeah,
which I've only heard exists. I don't know anything about it yet.
I don't think it's out until winter, I want to say, but it looks really interesting, and they're also republishing. When I come down for the Coach House launch to Toronto, which people should go to, it's October 3rd. Coach House Books is having their big fall launch. So I'll be there with my new book, but I think the real draw to me anyway is Gail Scott is going to be there, and they're relaunching Heroine.
Yeah, like
a new edition of it.
I wanted to teach that last year and I couldn't because the book was out of print. So
well, it's back in print.
I'm very glad it exists, but a year too late.
Yeah.
Come on, Coach House, get it together. Anticipate my needs as a university.
Just send them a list of your needs and then just see what they can manage out of that.
And watch them ignore it, as they should.
How are you finding? Here's a kind of weird random topic, but how are you finding getting your own writing done now that you're in the thick of this postdoc and so on? Do you find it interfering with what you're doing, or is it just enabling it, or what?
Dude, I finished 2 books last year.
Yeah,
like writing 2 books.
2? I thought you only finished 1.
No, I finished another one over the summer.
Nice.
It just came very quickly.
Huh.
So, no, like, I don't know. Like, in the last stages of my PhD, like, I found this process that really worked is, like, while I was doing my academic writing, anytime I got stuck, I would switch files to the creative one. And I would just, like, write a few lines or whatever. And I found, like... especially once I had like projects on the go, like I found it very easy to kind of like in these kind of 15-minute breaks from my quote unquote real work, like to like build chunks of poems, because it was a different part of my brain.
But you're still writing. It was still like, you find it pretty easy to switch between that kind of academic writing and the other one? Because some people don't. Like Anne Carson, I know, famously has 2 different desks in her office. One desk where she does academic work, and another desk where she does her creative work, which I think is, it's still the same office. So it's an interesting way of concretizing physically that division. Well, but I know other people who can flip more.
I find it easy to flip to the creative work.
Yeah.
I find it less easy to flip back to the academic work.
Yeah, just because
academic writing does not come naturally to me.
No, I don't find it. I find it easier to do the nonfiction academic writing. Like I can hammer out 5,000 words of that if I really want in a day. If I can have a full day to do. But like creative writing, that's like a slog. Like I've done 5,000 words in a day, but it's like I didn't leave the house for 18 hours. I just drank coffee and ate noodles. I didn't do anything else other than walk to and from the desk and the noodle preparation part of the counter. But like I can hammer out.
That's because you write fiction, right? Like poetry is designed to like just fit in the corners of your day.
Sure.
You're supposed to steal time from your employer to write your poetry.
It's true. Although, you got to be careful not to tell your employer in case they got one of those weird contracts where they own everything you write.
Yeah.
I remember, I forget who the writer was, but I remember hearing about a novelist who did that. He was on a tour and he was talking about how he wrote this novel at his day job during breaks and stuff, or when he was supposed to be working. And his employer took the copyright of his novel because he had one of those weird contracts. I forget the name of the guy, but it was one of those things where he had a weird contract where if you created it at work, the company owned it, which isn't super unusual.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's ever been applied in that manner. But I don't know if anyone is going to want the copyright on a weird book of poems. Have you got those? Are you shopping these books around right now, or what are you doing with them? Are you just editing them?
One of them I might go back and edit. I've got I can fill you in on the details because I know we're recording this presumably to put out for public consumption.
You can fill me in later then, yeah.
So there's 3 that I finished. One is placed at a press for a year in the very far off future. One I sent to a press and haven't heard back, and I don't know if their window is closed, so I have to start thinking about sending it other places. And the other one I just sent in to another place. I realized that was very vague. And probably
but you're probably right. You don't want to name the presses publicly unless you got things figured out. Even if you have a contract, like sometimes they don't want you to talk about it yet, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know about that specific instance, but you it's kind of thing where you'd want to maybe double check first, right? But yeah. But well, good on you for getting the poetry done. I know so many people who they kind of like they just stop doing things when like it gets busy with like say an academic project or something. And I've always felt that was the wrong. I mean, whatever works for people, I guess. But I always felt like it's the wrong move because don't you people get like I don't know. I've always felt like if you get stuck, you should just keep writing. But maybe you want to switch projects in that scenario. Usually it's a bad idea to switch projects, but sometimes like it can kind of spur your thinking a bit, especially if you've got like you're working on academic theory or something, and then maybe you're writing poems that kind of related to concept-wise, say. I don't know if that's what you've been doing, but
no, that's what has happened. Is all my research kind of feeds both sides. So anything I read just kind of gets sucked into the orbit of whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, so then in a weird way, like your poems almost become like notes and vice versa. Or your academic work becomes like notes for the poems in some weird way. I feel like that's like a good way to work on multiple projects as opposed to like totally disconnected things.
Yeah,
although I know people who do that.
I wouldn't be writing like any poems if somehow they weren't related to my like whatever I was doing in my academic life. Like there's poems in one of these manuscripts. Like there's a poem that came out of a conversation that I had with a class of mine. There's another one that came out of I was reading like Capital Volume 2. So the poem is like not an explanation, but like a response to like some of the ideas that Marx is working through in that. But in a weird lateral way.
I really like to do like ekphrastic poems, so like it's really kind of direct responses to things I've been reading or doing. Like the National Gallery book has a bunch of sonnets about Leatherface and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in it, as like a simple example. I do that in politics too, Politics and Knives, with the poem about Psycho, the movie Psycho.
Yeah.
And but even on like a simpler, so like to me like. I don't know. I find, especially for poetry, it really helps to have like it caught up in a network of responding to things or caught up in a network of other texts in that way. Like I do that kind of stuff with fiction too, but I think it's I don't know. I feel like it's more integral to the poetry in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what other people think. I'm always curious to know what other people think.
Find out very soon when.
When the book
when you hear back from your 12 readers.
Yeah. And they maybe review it.
Yeah.
Or don't review it. We'll see. It's getting harder and harder to get poetry books reviewed these days. I was looking at the fall schedule and like what's coming out, and I was like, all my hopes for, good like heavy review or possible prizes are gone because like it's like Billy Ray Belcourt's putting out a book. There's like 80 other people who are like cooler than me putting out books at the same time. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, I'm not putting out a book this season, so like.
Well, at least there's that. I got that lack of competition, I suppose. I'm really pumped about when. What was I going to say? The Belcourt book I'm really interested in. We can maybe talk a little bit about it sometime, but like there's a couple of cool things in it in terms of what was that? Like he's got these blackout pages, so these erasure poems, the blackout pages. Now a lot of people have been doing this kind of thing lately, but I thought it was interesting. I read this book, and I also read Treaty by Armin. Here, where is it? Armin Garnet Rufo.
Okay.
And they both kind of, I don't know if you've read this book yet, but they both have like a interesting way they're playing off the actual treaty text in certain moments. So that's something maybe, to talk about in another podcast. But I feel like there's a lot of really, Jordan Abel is the guy you mentioned, who I feel like there's a lot of really interesting kind of work being done around like erasure and just textual manipulation of like treaty text, which is kind of an interesting thing. I first saw it with Abel when he did those. I forget which book it was, but I think it was his first book where he. Yeah.
Which isn't treaty text.
No, it's not treaty text.
An erasure thing.
Yeah, it has to do with with these totem poles that were moved to the Toronto Museum, if I recall correctly, and some of the text from a memoir around that, published by the guy who had actually like taken those poles, if I recall correctly. But in any case,
Marius Barbeau, that's the guy's name, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, I know Abel's like investigated that kind of thing quite a bit. But I'm starting to see like that influence. I mean, I'm not sure exactly where the influence comes from with this Rufo and Belcourt book, but I feel like it's probably from the Abel work. And I'm really curious to see like how that strain plays out in more texts later on, like as there's more and more text created with around like reconciliation-esque projects, and then like these kind of poetic responses to these various events that happen, like the Colton Bushy media coverage and so on. So anyway, I think it's kind of an interesting, weird, side thing. I'd really like to get a hold of Abel or somebody and like actually talk to them about it. But anyway, I might have missed my chance to talk to Abel because he was here doing a writing in residence thing, and then it's over now.
I mean, I'm sure you could just email him and he'd respond to you. Although he's crazy busy, so like.
Well, he was trying to get together to have a beer with me at some point, because when he was doing this writing in residence thing, we never got it to pan out. But he just seems like he'd be crazy busy. But I'll have to see if I can get him on or somebody else. Belcourt seems like he'd be quite busy these days, but we'll see. But it's very curious, how the I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of really interesting poetry projects. It seems very diverse these days.
Yeah.
Like in terms of the types of projects that are kind of coming out, and like where they're coming from and so on. I don't know.
I know the Belcourt. The thing I'm interested in the Belcourt, because I've only flipped through it so far, but like are the kind of like he's been doing almost like the essay, working within the essay form, right? Like a kind of post-Bartzian, post-Maggie Nelson. Like there's a lot of different kinds of stuff that he's kind of responding to formally. But I'm interested in that move towards the essay, like within poetry.
Sure.
And I'm looking forward to reading the book to see how he negotiates that.
Yeah, I try to do that kind of thing with Politics as Knives a fair bit, like that kind of hybrid essay / poetry. I'm not sure if people notice that when they're reading that book, but like I think it's certainly a strain that I see more and more done well. Like Belcourt is doing it fairly well, and like in terms of moving back and forth between those two registers of voice, whereas I've seen a lot of stuff that wasn't really doing it super well. But I feel like it's, people are getting more of a handle on it,
Yeah.
I think I might have had a good handle on it, but maybe it was too invisible. In a certain, like if you read Psycho in my book, it is doing that same project, but it's very extreme to like the poetry end of the spectrum, where like the text is so disjointed that maybe you could miss the essayistic aspects because it just reads so much like some sort of psychosis jumbling of speech. But I feel like people are starting to get more of a hang on how to do it in like a deft way. But I don't know, I'm curious like you to see like where that plays out, because it has been so poorly handled in the past by various people. But in any case, some people doing well. Like Kootenai School was always doing a decent job with it, but other than that, I feel like it kind of got short shrift, and people are just very like I don't know, the Belcourt book. I'm curious to see your response when you finish reading it.
Yeah. So I'm watching the percentage on my computer. I got a bit of time left, but so tell me about the Legend of Zelda.
Well, yeah, I got to go shortly too soon, but
Breath of the Wild.
So, spoilers for people who are interested in Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. But I got to switch.
Spoil that game. That game is
I don't feel like it.
To spoil.
Well, you know how game people are. If you don't say spoilers, they'll come hack your heart out. But anyways,
you're literally the last person to play this game.
I probably am. I just started playing. I just got to switch. I didn't even know Switches existed, and so I just got to switch the other day, and mostly to play indie games. But anyhow, the one game I bought that wasn't like an indie game through like Devolver Digital on the eStore. The one game I got was Zelda Breath of the Wild, and because I'm a lifelong Zelda fan. Like Ryan, I believe that the best game ever made was Zelda 3 for the Super NES. And anyway, I'm loving this Breath of the Wild. It's a close second, I gotta say. And I really like the way the story is handled. So I just got all the memory. I beat Ganon, but I didn't remember Zelda. The character didn't remember Zelda because I had like 20% completion, I think, 22% completion. And I hadn't gotten all the memories and stuff. So now I just went and I got all the memories. I have to go beat Ganon again and see what the difference is in the ending. Although I still only have like 23 or 24% completion or something. But like I got the downloadable content. I got, I'm almost done the Champions Ballad quest. I just got to beat this one shrine that's really hard. And then I will have gotten but I got all the other 3 shrines of that part. I'm sure there's more parts of the whole ballad, but that's like where I'm at with that.
Okay.
I got to beat the one shrine with the one heart obliterator thing, the stasis shrine thing. But anyhow, I'm really interested in like the Zelda story approach because one, I think it's interesting how fragmentary the story is, like how you really don't get a lot of story. But when you do get it, you get these weird snippets. It's like you recall a memory of like 100 years ago when you and Zelda did something. You were wandering through these woods and then she was sad about something. And then it's like the end. Like that's the story you get. Or like, you just get these weird little snippets, which I think is interesting, like the fragmentary nature of it. And I also think like how it's interesting how a lot of the story just comes out of the environment. So like you have the basic concept that 10,000 years ago, there was this massive battle against Ganon, and all these mechanical creatures were created by the Sheikah people to fight Ganon. We don't know exactly what happened, but they sealed Ganon away. Then 100 years ago, Ganon returns. You fight with these champions alongside you in Zelda, but you fail, and you more or less are not quite killed. The game starts as you've been resurrected by this machine shrine, and then you kind of don't remember what happened. You get a little bit of information. You keep getting more snippets of information as things go on. The nutshell of it is, you failed 100 years ago. The world was destroyed. You're always wandering through like these ruins. Hyrule Castle is just this massive ruin, and I think it's just interesting how you're constantly going through these places in the game. You're like. The game is designed for you just to be exploring this area, and in all these areas, there's just like these signs of your failure. You're just kind of navigating through them. I think it's such a curious approach to the game storytelling compared to what I'm used to in an RPG, where it's just cutscene after cutscene of like let's just give you narrative and you can't even do anything for 10 minutes now because we're pumping narrative down your throat.
Yeah, well, and I think it's a direct response to like how a lot of people received like the last big Zelda game, which was Skyward Sword, which like you don't get. It takes you 5 or 6 hours to get out of the tutorial in that game, and which is a lot of like just hand holding and like, hey Link, I can't find my cat, can you go find my cat for me, like stuff like that. And so like it feels like they actually heard people's complaints and then went, okay, you want to just do whatever, here you go. You could literally, the first thing you could do is literally go beat Ganon.
Yeah, the guy, they even say in the game, like, well, there's Ganon over there. You could go beat him, but I wouldn't advise it. Like, don't go over there. Well, I guess you could, though. And it gives you a little quest, like, your ultimate goal is to beat Ganon, but maybe you want to do other things first.
Yeah.
And then when you do beat Ganon, I just, like, again, I beat him. I didn't beat him super fast. Like, I'd put, like, I don't know, too many hours into the game by that point. But I still had only done, like, 20% of what you could do or whatever.
Yeah.
But it, still, like, when I beat him, it's like, you beat Ganon. And then Zelda literally goes, Link, let me ask you a question. Do you really remember me? And then, like, game over. It's like the worst ending ever, because you haven't bothered to go through the work of, like, finding the story, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I find it really curious. I also find, like, the interesting story where, like, Link and Zelda don't even really get along.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, which is very curious. But I think really interesting.
Yeah. I think
her
that's why
character
I'm interested.
Her character is really interesting, that it has a lot of interesting and has like a lot of kind of depth to it too, which is kind of curious.
Yeah. I think that's why I'm interested in the sequel that they announced, which is like a direct sequel. They don't do that very often.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's like
I haven't heard this.
The trailer they showed is they go into the ruin of Hyrule Castle, Link and Zelda, and they like awaken something else, and so like that's presumably what they'll be dealing with. But I'm hoping they do something with like Link and Zelda, where I don't know if you could like choose which one you play as, or
it'd be great to be able to play as Zelda one of these games.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of one where you play as Zelda. I haven't played every single Zelda game, but
there's a bad one where you play as Zelda. I don't know. Like, there's lots of side games where you can play as Zelda, but I don't think there's a main game where you play as Zelda. It's not like Super Mario, where you can play as Peach in Super Mario 2.
Yeah, which is an underrated Super Mario, I gotta say.
I don't know if that's the best one, but it might be my favorite one.
Yeah, it's not the best one by far, but yeah, I do love it. Yeah, although it's barely a Mario game in many ways. But I love but I'm really curious about this Breath of the Wild sequel now. You got me interested.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be great. I don't know if that's their plan, but that would be great.
Yeah, they barely said anything about it other than it's happening, and there was like
Is there a date for it or anything?
No. So it could be in a year, could be in 5 years.
Yeah. I could probably still play this game for 5 years and not complete it, because there's so much to do. There's whole areas of the map I haven't even walked to. It's a massive world.
Yeah.
And I've got this whole list of side quests on, like, it tells you all the quests you've started and haven't finished or whatever. Yeah. And like every time I scroll through it, I'm like, I don't remember that quest that I was on that quest. There's just so many things you're like engaged in. And now I got this, DLC, so I don't even know. I don't even know what I got to do next at this point.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll talk more about.
Gotta get that motorcycle.
Yeah, I hear there's a motorcycle, which I'm curious about. The thing I want most in this whole game is to just get the Master Sword not sucking so much. That's my one real disappointment in this game, is how crappy the Master Sword is. I'm really hoping if you beat all these champion things, you wouldn't use all the other cool
swords. Yeah, you wouldn't use all the other cool swords if the Master Sword was any good.
I suppose it's not the worst, but it's like it breaks a lot. It doesn't really do much. It's only like 30. Like you can pick up better swords half the time.
Yeah.
For this, it's the sword that seals the darkness, and it should be super cool. I got it early too, like because you need like so many hearts to pull it out. So I like went and I traded all my stamina for hearts, and I like pulled it out, and then I went back to like having a bunch of stamina. So I was like walking around with the Master Sword and like 6 hearts. But But I had like 3 full stamina wheels, because I'm addicted to stamina. But yeah,
this is quality audio.
Quality audio for all. Well, we'll talk more later, Ryan, when I beat Zelda more. And also, I've read Ian Williams. And I will have also read Sonnet Shakespeare, which I'm going to do tomorrow or today.
Great. And next time I can tell everyone why Zelda isn't even the best game on the Nintendo Switch. That game is Super Mario Maker. And if you care about poetry, you should be playing Super Mario Maker.
I'll let you show me Super Mario Maker when I come down to visit you, and if you can convince me to get into Super Mario Maker. My thing is, like, I feel like from the outside looking at Super Mario Maker, I feel like it's work. Like, why don't they just pay me to make these levels? If I'm making levels, shouldn't somebody be paying me? That's how I feel about it. But maybe I'll feel differently when I try out Super Mario Maker at your place.
Yeah.
I don't want to like pay $100 just to try it out. It's where I'm at with it right now.
Yeah.
Whereas I'll easily drop it on Zelda because I'm right into the Zelda brand. You can sell me anything Zelda. Ever since I was a kid, and I played the first Zelda, and then when I beat the game, it said, "Now you get to play another game." It's like, now New Game Plus, and I'm like, what? And it's like a totally different game. I was like, this is amazing. That they sold me at that moment for a life. So anyway, all right, talk to you later, Ryan. Have fun today.
I will.
All right,
Yeah.
Gator. Bye.